Hi, welcome back. Okay, I still wanted to do a reading for Divine Femmes. I've had a lot of messages coming out for Divine Masculines lately, which I mean is totally fine, you know, they deserve some love too, right? Especially with a whole bunch of them waking up these days, they deserve some love as well. So, yeah, I guess I was feeling like led to use the fairies. So, I don't know, I haven't really feeling the fairy energy lately. Maybe because I've been spending so much time in my garden, so it's like, maybe, ooh, so waiting for something to grow, but having a good time. So, you know, maybe wanting to have growth, but not being so focused on growth that we're not able to, we need to stop and have a good time. Oh, so maybe be loved. Hmm. So maybe there's a divine feminine out here who just might not be feeling very loved right now. Maybe you're just waking up or just having gifts waking up. Wow. Oh, maybe you're not feeling loved because you were hoping somebody was going to come help you or save you, and it just didn't turn out that way. And so now it's making you feel like you're not cared about. But I feel like this situation is a catalyst. So if you're not woke up yet or a divine feminine, this process is going to do that for you. If you are awake, then you may be having a new gift coming online. So this situation is activating a gift. So you maybe would like to, maybe you should watch out for this overindulgence energy, because um, what you're not seeing is that you have a gift coming on. You know, you feel like you're just not leaving your mark on something, but you have a gift that's waking up. You have gifts that are coming online, and maybe you need to, maybe there, especially since tattoo fairy is out here, maybe it's something that's artistic, something creative that you can do in your, oh, shoot. All right, well, at least it didn't fall into the cup. We have forget me nots, but you're feeling forgot. Oh, so I don't, this is interesting. All right, so we have Magnolia, and Magnolia talks about needing to write a letter to your younger self. So maybe you're somebody who's always wanted to be a tattoo artist, and or you're really close with somebody who is a tattoo artist, and this person was supposed to do something with you that was supposed to help you out about something, and it just didn't work out that way. So ever since then, you've been kind of maybe overdoing something because you felt like you weren't being properly supported by this person. So maybe you were expecting them to support you and then they didn't, and it just made you feel bad. Or it doesn't have to be a tattoo artist, it could just be somebody who has a lot of tattoos on them. Maybe like a tattoo enthusiast, somebody who's like has lots of ink on them. Hey, you know what? Like, you know, but you know what? If you're just waking up and you haven't recognized yourself as a divine feminine yet, the one thing you need to know is that you don't need somebody to save you. Everything you need to save yourself already exists within you. So this person didn't show up for you in the way that you hoped they would, and or the way the universe possibly would. the universe may have been guiding them to do this, but they just wouldn't step up into that energy. And so now you've gone and done too much on their behalf. And that's okay. You know what? Sometimes we, especially since it says beloved, which means before this happened, you really were having strong feelings for them, And, you will not be the first or the last person who uh, feeling swept up either in love or limerence towards somebody, you know, and got really carried away to a degree of doing so much to win this person and wanting to show them love and care that you've abandoned yourself, and then you feel like you need help because you abandoned yourself, and I understand that it was for this person because out of care for them. But at the end of the day, we still have to love ourselves, And you can't abandon yourself to love somebody because who are they gonna love? The you that you've abandoned? Why is anybody else gonna? I don't know. I just feel like that's not the way. You're being guided to love yourself. And this magnolia is here to say that you need to write a letter. You need to write a letter to your 5-year-old self and or your teenage self. So depending if you're like me where you're older, like in your late 30s or 40s, you could write a letter to your 13, 14-year-old self. But if you're younger, like if you're still like under 35, I would say write a letter to your 5-year-old self. And especially like if you possibly have like suppressed shame from like an event that happened while you were growing up or as a teenager or a young adult, and it made you feel like you didn't do right by your inner child and allowing these things to happen, just write a letter to that inner child and tell them about like why you feel bad about what happened and what you wish you could have done differently, and then when you're done, burn your letter, I feel like that's something you should do. Yeah, and we have this. So we have little brother or sister. Okay, so maybe this tattoo energy and beloved energy is like your little brother or little sister. We also have take care of yourself. See, I was just literally just saying that. Thank you, Spirit. And it says wisdom is light as a feather. So maybe hearing this, it's gonna sound like wisdom to you, but doesn't sound light as a feather. You're like, okay, what you're saying is easier said than done. And I absolutely believe it. I am with you 100%. It's absolutely easier said than done. Gift of sacred sight. That's what I said. You have a gift. Your gift is waking up. And as this gift wakes up, I'm going to tell you something, okay? As this gift is waking up, you're going to be able to start seeing stuff that you didn't used to see before. And unfortunately, there are going to be some things you cannot unsee, okay? When you start to wake up and see stuff in people, it takes you to like this point of no return. And you just can't go back to how it was. And you really wish you could, but you can't. So, why even bother? Don't try to fight it. Yeah, so it says Alice in the Sea of Tears, cast away out of your depth and feeling abandoned. So like this younger person who you thought was going to support you, they weren't. And so, yeah, so it says a twist in the tale, the unexpected, a change you did not see coming because you're going through the spiritual awakening. And of course you weren't going to see it coming. If you haven't been through one before, then how can you possibly know what to expect? And it's not just one awakening. Once we go through our first one, we can have more later on. It says you inspire trust and confidence. So, you know, maybe you were also hoping that maybe you know this about yourself, and so you were hoping to inspire this other person to do right by you, and you feel like they just didn't do right by you. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Yeah. Black cat, lost magic, uh atonement and rebalance. And I feel like this atonement and rebalance, I feel like whoever this person is in your family or your life, um maybe you want to just rebalance it out. So maybe you just need to have a conversation with somebody. And or this letter you were gonna write to your inner child. If it's if it's about something that happened while you were growing up, you could write a letter to the inner child of the person that's involved in the situation. And then you can decide if you feel comfortable to give it to them, and or you could still burn it, so you can write it to get the expression out so that those feelings aren't suppressed. But if you're not comfortable or confident enough to give it to them or want to do that, if that feels too confrontational for you, you can always burn it. The important part of doing this is the shadow work part, which is like the sitting with that feeling or sitting with that memory that haunts you, so that you can let it go. That's the point of it, because you deserve to feel better and to feel good and to feel happy and to not be haunted by these memories from childhood and or things that happened that disappointed you. Whoops. Right, there's a card that didn't want to come out. So we have falling, which is more of the unknown, momentum change, but it's upside down. So there's change that's meant to come into your life right now, and it seems like you're resisting it. And we have impossible things, which almost want them to be upside down. So it's a fresh perspective. So maybe you need this fresh perspective and you weren't getting it. Yeah, you will make it through this. That's what I said. You're having a spiritual awakening. You will make it through this. You'll be okay. You will. It just doesn't, it's hard right now. Yeah, don't drink poison just because you're thirsty. And I feel like, you know what? You were resistant to something. You were resistant to something because you thought somebody was trying to poison you, but it's actually not. It's not poison. Like, just for some reason, there's something you're perceiving as a poison that's not. It's not a poison. Maybe you thought something was killing you, or maybe you thought it was to your detriment, and it's actually not to your detriment. But you know what? When you go to spiritual awakenings and or have gifts wake up, sometimes it can make you feel like you're about to die, but you're not. And this talks about covering up errors, but you don't need to. There's nothing to cover up. It wasn't an error. Nobody's poisoning you. There's nobody's trying to unalive you. Nobody's doing anything bad to you. You're either having the spiritual awakening and or a new gift coming online, and this gift is going to include sacred sight. So it's going to change the way that you're able to perceive. You may be having clairvoyance that's waking up, and clairvoyance is just this knowing. And you may have moments and you'll be like, wow, how is it that I just knowing this? And especially if you haven't had that before, maybe it'll just feel new and weird to you. Well, when you have spiritual gifts, it's not like how you were before. And so if you want to have spiritual gifts, then you also have to go through the process of waking up to them coming online, and you have to get used to how it feels when you have it and how to use it. And that's a whole process, and you need to allow yourself to go through that process. And the more you try to resist it and or pretend it's not really happening to you, it's not going to help you get through that process. You just need to acclimate to it. It talks about forgetting who you are, but you're not forgetting who you are. Oh, okay. So, all right. So what this is telling me is that, yeah, so there's a memory you have of something that happened when you were younger. And it made you feel really unsupported, or like this person wasn't there for you. Or you're really upset with somebody in your family because of the way something happened in their life. Maybe it's also made you feel like it's left you with a mark in your soul that you feel at times will never go away. Maybe you feel like whatever this event was, you felt like it kind of poisoned your heart, and it also made you feel like this person was just covering up their mistakes and trying to gaslight you so that you would forget who you are. I feel like that's not exactly the way the situation is. I feel like this is a perception, and then with this impossible things, spirit is trying to guide you to look at this a new and different way. So like, you're being called to let go of this memory the way that you've always seen it. And that's probably going to be really difficult because, being able to let go of a terrible memory you know, involves accepting that there's other points of view to see it from, and that the way we experienced it isn't the only way that it happened. And that's not to invalidate and say that yours doesn't matter or that it didn't happen that way for you, but there was more in that situation, and you're being called to look at more than just that situation. You may be called to just release it, give yourself your own closure. There's some things that happen in life that happen, and some things will never get the proper closure that we need. Bottom of the deck is set your course, know where you wish to go, and have a plan. So I feel like right now you're being guided to, as you're going through the spiritual awakening, set a plan. You may want to find a therapist and or get into counseling so you can have somebody to assist you in doing this if you don't feel comfortable working through it on your own. I personally have worked through a lot of my crap on my own, but, you know, I'm pretty, I do a lot of journaling and creative writing, and I'm really expressive, and I don't have a problem telling people how I feel about things and or bringing things up that may possibly bother somebody. I'm actually really good at that part. So, um, so maybe to the point, I probably do it to a different extreme to where other people wish I would like do it a little bit less. But yeah, maybe you need somebody to help you. If you don't journal, you may want to consider journaling and or getting these journals that have prompts and will have you write about what you've been through, you know? Um, and that can't hurt, as you're going through this process and your gifts are waking up. As your gifts wake up and you start knowing, depending how your sacred, because how sacred sight works for everybody is different, right? Clairvoyance has like different ways it can manifest, and even within the clairvoyancy, there's like 5 different clairs, and each one has to do with with your 5 senses, and each sense has its own. And then there's one for like dealing with animals, and there's one with like dealing with plants and nature. So like, um, there's a lot, in the world of spiritual gifts. There's a lot, and you just have to open yourself up to it. And as you open yourself up to it, you're going to have these different experiences, and it can't hurt you to keep a log of like once you start experiencing them, what was the outcome of this? What did you learn through that experience of having it? Did you tell anybody about it? Was it confirmed for you? Because I can almost guarantee you, like a lot of people who like follow tarot or would follow a channel like mine are like spiritually minded people, and as they see things happen, like a lot of these readings will just confirm things that you've already just picked up with in your gifts. So, you know, um, just hang in there. Sorry you're going through a hard time. You know, don't be afraid to like take a moment to just hug yourself. Hug yourself. Give yourself a great big hug of self-love and be like, me, we're going through this hard time, but it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So, yep, so that's it. I don't know. That's it. I have a free Discord you can join with the link in my bio, and I have a link to my coffee where you can go and buy readings and or sub to me. If you sub for the month, for every month you sub, you get a free reading, so a personal read. So that's it. Have a great weekend.